In the heart of Chicago's fast-moving tech district, Daniel Carter had become the quiet force behind one of the city's most promising logistics startups. For 10 years, he had shown up before sunrise and stayed long after sunset, balancing spreadsheets by day and bedtime stories by night for his young daughter Lily. To most people in the company, Daniel wasn't just an operations manager. He was the reason things worked when everything else seemed ready to fall apart. He understood the system inside out. When suppliers delayed shipments, Daniel had backup plans ready. When clients demanded impossible deadlines, he negotiated solutions that kept both sides satisfied. His calm thinking and steady leadership earned him respect from employees across every department. But Daniel never chased recognition. For him, stability meant everything, especially after losing his wife years ago. This job wasn't just work, it was survival. That's why the announcement came as a shock on a Monday morning. Employees gathered in the glass-walled conference room. The chairman stood at the front, smiling proudly as he introduced his son, Ryan, as the company's new executive head. Fresh out of business school, Ryan carried confidence but not experience. The room filled with polite applause, but confusion lingered in the air. Daniel stood quietly at the back, processing every word. No warning, no discussion, no transition plan. Within days, everything began to shift. Ryan moved fast, too fast. He dismissed ongoing strategies, calling them outdated, and replaced them with aggressive plans that looked impressive on paper but ignored real-world challenges. Long-term clients were pushed into rushed contracts. Internal teams were given unrealistic targets. Meetings that once focused on solutions turned into displays of authority. Daniel tried to speak up once. "We need to slow this down," he said calmly during a strategy session. "These changes could damage client trust." Ryan barely looked at him. "We're not here to play safe," he replied. "We're here to grow." After that, Daniel stayed quiet. His role slowly faded into the background. Decisions were made without him. Reports he once led were reassigned. The respect he had built over a decade seemed to disappear in a matter of days. Not because he had failed, but because someone else needed control. Still, Daniel didn't react. Each evening he returned home to Lily, helping her with homework and cooking simple dinners. She never saw the weight he carried. To her, he was still strong, still steady, but at night, when the city lights flickered through his apartment window, Daniel couldn't ignore what he saw coming. Missed details, poor planning, growing tension among employees. The foundation was cracking, and Daniel knew something the others didn't. This wasn't just mismanagement. It was the beginning of a collapse. 3 weeks was all it took for the cracks to turn into fractures. What once felt like a stable, fast-growing company now operated under constant pressure and confusion. Emails piled up unanswered. Urgent client requests slipped through unnoticed. Deadlines that Daniel had once managed with precision were now missed entirely. Inside the office, the energy had shifted. From focused and collaborative to tense, uncertain. Employees whispered in corners, "This isn't working. Who approved this plan?" No one knows what's happening anymore. Ryan, however, pushed harder. Instead of slowing down, he doubled his demands, blaming teams for underperformance rather than questioning his own decisions. Meetings became longer, louder, and less productive. Department heads began clashing openly. Without a clear system in place, everyone was moving but in different directions. Then came the breaking point. A major client, one of the company's biggest partners, suddenly pulled out of a long-term contract. The reason was simple: repeated delays, poor communication, and lack of accountability. The loss sent shockwaves through the company. Within days, 2 more clients followed. Investors started asking questions. Financial projections, once optimistic, now painted a worrying picture. The board could no longer ignore it. An emergency meeting was called late one evening. The room that had once welcomed Ryan with applause now felt heavy with silence. Reports were projected on the screen, numbers declining, losses increasing, systems failing. One by one, the truth became impossible to deny. This started after the leadership change. One board member said carefully, another added, "We removed the person who understood how this company actually runs." No one needed to say Daniel's name. Meanwhile, Daniel continued his quiet routine, far from the chaos. He had accepted his reduced role without complaint, focusing only on what he could control. But he stayed observant. He saw the patterns, the mistakes, the gaps widening every day. So when his phone rang late that night, he wasn't surprised. It was the chairman. There was no pride left in his voice. "We need you back," he said. "Direct and honest, things have gone wrong." Daniel didn't respond immediately. He stood by his apartment window, looking out at the city he had worked so hard to survive in. For years, he had given everything to the company without asking for more than stability. Now, for the first time, the balance had shifted. "I'll come back," Daniel said, finally, calm but firm. But things will be different. The next morning, Daniel walked into the office again. Not as someone overlooked, but as someone needed. Conversation stopped as he passed. Employees watched with a mix of relief and hope, because deep down everyone knew the truth. The company hadn't just lost a manager. It had lost its foundation, and now that foundation had returned, but on its own terms.